Stanley. Victor Stan Collymore is a retired English football player who played as a centre-forward from 1990 to 2001. He held the English transfer record when he moved from Nottingham Forest to Liverpool for £8.5 million in 1995 and was capped 3 times at senior level by the England national football team. He is currently a football pundit. Club career. Early career. Collymore was born in Stone, Staffordshire. As a young boy he supported Aston Villa. As centre-forward, Collymore played junior football for Cannock Peelers and Penkridge Juniors before starting his career as an apprentice footballer with Walsall, and also Wolverhampton Wanderers, before being released and signing for then Conference team, Stafford Rangers. It was there he caught the eye of several Football League clubs by demonstrating the ability to score spectacular goals before being given his chance as a full-time professional with Crystal Palace at the age of 19, when he signed for them in December 1990. Crystal Palace and Southend United. After nearly 2 years of learning his trade as understudy to the prolific Crystal Palace partnership of Mark Bright and Ian Wright, Collymore dropped down a division in the autumn of 1992 to sign for Southend United and there scored 18 goals in 31 games to help keep the club in Division 1 when relegation had seemed likely. Collymore enjoyed his time at Southend, saying, "I can't helping to keep Southend in the First Division in my season there is one of my finest achievements." Nottingham Forest. In June 1993, Collymore signed for Nottingham Forest in an initial £2 million deal rising to £2.75 million based on certain clauses being met, including an international cap. He was signed by newly appointed Frank Clark, who had just taken over as manager at the end of Brian Clough's 18-year reign as manager. Forest had just been relegated from the Premier League, but Collymore's good form in the 1993 Euro 94 campaign helped take them back to the top flight as Division 1 runners-up. He scored 22 Premier League goals in 1994 Euro 95 as Forest finished third in the league and achieved UEFA Cup qualification to secure their first European campaign of the post-Heysel era. Halfway through the 1994 Euro 95 season, Collymore came close to joining Manchester United. Alex Ferguson was looking for a younger striker to sign as a possible long-term successor to the 31-year-old Mark Hughes, and had identified Stan Collymore and Andy Cole as the 2 players who best fitted the bill. For a while it seemed certain that Collymore was on his way to Old Trafford, but United signed Cole instead and Collymore remained at the City Ground until the end of the season, by which time Newcastle United, Liverpool and Everton were in the hunt for his signature. Liverpool. Collymore signed for Liverpool in June 1995, for an English record fee of £8.5 million. He scored on his Liverpool copyright but against Sheffield Wednesday and would spend 2 years at Anfield. He scored at a ratio of a goal every 2.5 games and created many goals in a partnership with Robbie Fowler, ousting the veteran Ian Rush. He also scored 2 goals, including the winner, against Newcastle United at Anfield in a game that was regarded as one of the most exciting in the history of the Premier League, a Euro, a game which helped severely dent Newcastle's title challenge and eventually hand the title to Manchester United. In 2003, it was voted by viewers of Sky Sports as the greatest sporting moment in the channel's first 10 years. At the end of his first season with Liverpool, he was in their side for the FA Cup final, but was substituted in favour of Ian Rush in the 74th minute with the match still goalless, and watched from the sidelines when Manchester United's Eric Cantona fired home the winning goal with 5 minutes left on the clock. It would be the closest that Collymore would come to winning a major trophy in his playing career. Despite his controversies at the club, Collymore helped Liverpool to third place in the Premier League. After 2 seasons at Anfield, the striker was sold to Aston Villa in 1997, for £7 million, making him Liverpool's most expensive sale and Villa's most expensive signing. Aston Villa and Leicester City. In the 3 years that he spent at the club, Collymore scored 15 goals but failed to hold down a regular place. Highs included being only the 3rd Aston Villa player in history to score a hat-trick in European competition and also bagging 2 goals against former club Liverpool in a 2 Euro 1 home victory. Poor form and clinical depression saw Collymore receive treatment at the Priory Hospital Roehampton for several weeks, and on his return to professional football he went on a 3-month loan to Fulham, where he scored once in the League Cup against West Bromwich Albion. Ultimately he was allowed by manager John Gregory to leave on a free transfer to Leicester City, where, under Martin O'Neill, he regained some of the early form when he scored a hat-trick against Sunderland in a €5-2 victory, in which Martin O'Neill went on record to describe the Leicester City side on that day as the best side he has managed to date. Collymore was notoriously involved as the Leicester City team was sent home from a 4-day break in La Manga. Collymore let off a fire extinguisher in a hotel bar. Shortly after, O'Neill left Leicester City to manage Celtic, and Collymore, Steve Walsh and others were forced to depart following the arrival of new manager Peter Taylor. Bradford City, Real Oviedo, and retirement. He moved to Bradford City in October 2000 on a free transfer. He scored an overhead kick on his debut against Leeds United in a West Yorkshire derby at Valley Parade on October 29, which ended 1-1. However, Collymore celebrated in front of the visiting Leeds fans and subsequently faced Football Association charges. He was substituted at half-time in his second game as Bradford lost 4-3 to Newcastle United in the League Cup, and missed the following game at Charlton Athletic because of flu and a sore wisdom tooth. In Collymore's absence, City lost 2-0, and manager Chris Hutchings was sacked 2 days later. Jim Jeffries was appointed as new City manager, and he won his first home game in charge 2-1 against Coventry City when Collymore scored Bradford's first goal. However, only a month later, Collymore, and other highly paid players Benito Carbone and Dan Petrescu were transfer listed. Collymore was linked with various clubs, but eventually signed for Spanish La Liga side Real Oviedo on January 31, 2001, when he was greeted by 1,500 fans. He had played just 8 games for Bradford, scoring 2 goals. Collymore's copyright but for Oviedo was as a second-half substitute away to Las Palmas on February 4, 2001, which resulted in a 1-0 defeat. He was again brought on during the second half of his home debut a week later against Villarreal, but was then dropped by coach Radomir Anca and warned to improve his fitness. He played just 1 more game for Oviedo, before he announced his retirement at the age of 30, on March 7, 2001, just 5 weeks after he had joined the Spanish club. A statement issued through his spokesman said, "Stan Collymore has decided, after discussions with his family and close friends, to give up playing professional football. He has just turned 30 and believes that the time is right to explore other career opportunities which are available to him." He was offered a chance to return to Southend United, and he was also approached by Boston United and Wolverhampton Wanderers, but never made a return to football, and was also turned down for the manager's position at Bradford City, following the dismissal of Jim Jeffries in December 2001. Before the end of 2001, Oviedo began court proceedings against Collymore for breach of his contract. International career. After an impressive debut season in the Premier League, Collymore was called up to Terry Venables' England squad for the Umbro Cup in June 1995. He made his copyright but at Wembley Stadium against Japan, partnering Alan Shearer in a 2-1 win. He won his second cap as a 90th-minute substitute against Brazil. Collymore made his third and final appearance for England as a substitute in a 4-0 win over Moldova during qualification for the 1998 FIFA World Cup. Post-football career, Collymore contributed to his biography Stan, Tackling My Demons with Oliver Holt, which was released to critical acclaim for its portrayal of the modern footballer. In 2005 he played the character Kevin Franks in the film Basic Instinct 2 alongside Sharon Stone. Collymore is seen and heard regularly on television and radio in the UK, and owns Maverick Spirit Productions, a UK television production company. In 2007 Collymore went back to full-time sports broadcasting. He summarised for Australian television on the FA Cup final between Manchester United and Chelsea at Wembley and the UEFA Champions League final between Liverpool and AC Milan in Athens. Collymore was part of the BBC Radio 5 live commentary team in 2007 08 for the Champions League final between Manchester United and Chelsea in Moscow and for the station's Premier League coverage that season. He has hosted the weekly football magazine show, Central Soccer Night on ITV Central, and commentated on the 26th Africa Cup of Nations for British Eurosport. He is also a regular commentator and studio analyst for two foreign broadcasters, GTV and SBS Sport. Collymore left 5 Live after the 2008 Champions League final to become a presenter and co-commentator on TalkSport. He also hosts the phone-in show, Call Collymore, which is on after every Premier League game that TalkSport cover. He also features as an analyst on the station's Matchday Live programme. When he first joined TalkSport, he co-presented their evening show with Danny Kelly on a Monday, Wednesday and Friday evening on the football programme, and commentated on the Saturday afternoon matches with Nigel Pearson, replacing Alvin Martin as co-commentator. For the 2009 Euro 10 season, Collymore moved to Monday to Wednesday nights with Mark Saggers, as well as keeping his commitments on Saturday afternoons. Collymore worked at the 2010 World Cup, becoming the main co-commentator on TalkSport, and usually commentated with Jim Proudfoot on the biggest matches, including the final and all of England's matches. He claimed on Twitter he was the subject of a move for the BBC to move to 5 Live and also do television work, but he turned this down and remained on TalkSport. He also appears on Kick-Off on Monday to Wednesday nights, usually with Mark Saggers, and commentating on Champions League on these nights. As well as this, he was a pundit on Channel 5 for their Europa League coverage. He has endeared himself to his fans on TalkSport by continually repeating his catchphrase "at this moment in time" while on air. On October 20, 2008, in a landmark case that may have set a precedent for cases in the future, Collymore won more than £1.5 million in damages from his financial advisors, for the poor investment advice he had been given since retiring from professional football in 2001. The judge ruled that Collymore had indeed been given advice that was in breach of statutory obligations. In May 2014, Collymore was criticised by a Royal Navy veteran after he wrote on Twitter, "Falklands? Wasn't anyone's. We just thieved it, as we do. What glory, what triumph. A effing island with sheep. Rule Britannia." Despite numerous demands, Collymore refused to apologise for the comment, telling Falklands Radio that the comment was unambiguous enough for them to use common sense. The subsequent furore resulted in numerous complaints from the veteran community, with some staging a protest outside of the broadcaster's offices. Personal life: Collymore had a relationship with Ulrika Jonsson which ended after he punched her in a Parisian bar in 1998. He later married Estelle Williams. The couple divorced in 2007, and Collymore was arrested after allegedly threatening to kill her and burn down her parents' house in 2007. Charges were later dropped after Collymore agreed to be bound over to keep the peace. Since talking in 1999 for the first time about his experience of depression, he has supported the charity Depression Alliance, and in 2011 raised £20,000 for it in 3 days. In 2004, Collymore was accused of taking part in dogging at Cannock Chase by an undercover News of the World reporter. He lost his job at BBC Radio 5 Live over the incident. He is a high-profile supporter of Republic, a campaign group that campaigns for an elected UK head of state. He stated in his autobiography that he has been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. References. External links: Stan Collymore career stats at Soxerbase, LFC history profile, Daily Mirror column, Call Collymore radio show.